Good morning, everyone. I'm just gonna wait for I think my Instagram is having issues. So let me just wait for Instagram to tune in. Good morning. If you guys can hear me, comments, let me know you can hear me. How is everyone doing today? Post election. How's everyone doing? Chef Siobhan Luca, I'm having issues with my internet today. But hopefully you guys can hear me. If it gets too bad, I'll probably just log off, but we'll go as far as we can go. Hey, I'm Franca from Maryland. Every said feeling as best as can be. Yes, that is the spirit and the attitude, it's never good to wallow, just do the best you can. All right, guys, let me introduce myself. Hey, Brandon, what's up? My name is Aisha Chidole, and I'm an immigration attorney, and I represent clients all over the United States, all 50 states, internationally, for those who want to immigrate to the United States through family-based or humanitarian-based cases. I know there's a lot of pandemonium and a lot of, fear and panic and, just all of that good stuff of what's, going on. Let me find, I wanted to talk to you guys about some stuff today, but let me just see if I can find it. If not, I'll talk about it. What's today's date? Okay, so I found it. So, Virgo says, you're my attorney, so I'm feeling positive and trusting the process. Yes. So let me first start by saying this, guys. This is not the first time that President Trump has been in office. I was here when President Trump was in office, and I'm here with President Biden, and I will be here by the grace of God with President Trump. So, yes, there are a lot of changes potentially coming, but it doesn't mean you stop fighting. It doesn't mean you stop trying. It doesn't mean you stop applying if you're eligible for something. You do not want to live your life in fear and believe that nothing is possible for you, or that, because this person has entered and I am screwed for the rest of my life. First of all, we refuse and we do not accept that energy here. And none of my clients will receive that energy, and hopefully none of y'all on here will receive that energy. That's number one. We're getting cases approved in Trump's time. We'll get cases approved in Biden's, and we'll get cases approved in Trump's time again. I know a lot of you are concerned and wanting to know what's going on, So really, guys, relax. First of all, there's nothing that has been passed. That's number one. He hasn't entered office yet, so nothing has been passed. Yes, are there reasons to be concerned? For sure, but the only thing that we know as of right now is, I talked about, birthright citizenship, and I see someone asked me that question, and I talked about it. So you can go watch my video yesterday where I basically said, you cannot just eliminate birthright citizenship. So let's start with that first of all. Birthright citizenship is protected by the 14th Amendment of the Constitution. The Constitution is not something that any president, for that matter, can just by executive order say, I want to change this. In order to amend or change the Constitution, you need 2/3 of the House, like you need 2/3 of Congress and Senate, right? 2/3 of Congress and Senate is made up of both Democrats and Republicans, not just like one Democrat or two Democrats, by several. Because because right now I think, for instance, like the Republicans have about 213 seats in Congress, and the total to have it is 218. But in order to have 2/3 votes, you need 290. So you would need at least 60 or 70 Democrats to agree with that. So it ain't happening. I mean, can he try it? Sure. But is it likely to happen? No. So what I did was, over the last few days, I just tried to read Project 25 and just focus on things related to immigration. So, President Trump has said several times that he doesn't know what Project 25 is, and he hasn't read it, and he doesn't care to read it. So I truly pray that this is true, because there are definitely some things in Project 2025 as it relates to immigration that are very problematic, and I've been debating back and forth if I wanted to talk to you guys about it, because I'm not someone who likes to stoke fear. I'm not someone who likes to give you guys high blood pressure if you don't need it. Like, if it's not a law, like, I'm not generally someone who likes to do it. So, unless enough of you tell me to read it and you're not going to hold me to it, I will tell you what it is. But what I will tell you is what I know from the previous presidency when he was in office to when he's in office now, what we can expect, just because this is very terrifying, some of the things on here. And I just don't need people more like paranoid, because this is not law. This is just something that has been written arbitrarily, and we don't know. Someone is asking, what about VAWA? Well, I will tell you that I was doing VAWA in President Trump's era. I did VAWA in President Biden's era, and I will continue to do VAWA in President Trump's era. There's nothing in Project 2025 that actually mentions VAWA cases. So I believe that those will stay protected, or anything related to being married to a U.S. citizen or a green card holder, or being, the child of a U.S. citizen or a green card holder. So I don't believe anything is going to change with that. As it relates to fiancé K-1 visas, I don't believe anything is going to change with that. There are so many other priorities here, as far as what they have said is their priority, that these are not things that they're concerned about. Some things that they're concerned about, i.e. the one that is the most problematic. Again, let me repeat this before those of you here start to panic. This is not law. What I'm telling you is what is in Project 2025. It is not law. I don't know if Trump is going to take on this, but this is what it is. One of the things that they're trying to do is they're trying to eliminate T and U visas. They're trying to eliminate trafficking and U visas, unless it is for extremely, let me see, I wrote all of these down just because I don't want to misquote it. Until it's completely eliminated, they will only grant T or U's to victims of heinous crimes and the truest and most deserving victims of crimes. So I don't really know how they're going to do that. Like, how are they going to make that determination, right? Because any trafficking or any serious crime is truly a heinous and, crime, and every one of those people are deserving, right? So a lot of things here I feel like are just things that are being written down, but it doesn't necessarily mean that these things are going to pass, or they're not going to have several injunctions by courts. So what I want to focus on is what was a law then and what could potentially be law. One thing that you can be rest assured is that they are going to require everyone to attend an interview, which has always been the case, until President Biden entered into office. So for those of you, who are married, filing a marriage-based green card, you better know your spouse. You better know your spouse, because I will tell you this, 70% of cases that get denied at the interview level. They get denied at the interview level. So you better know your spouse. You better know what to expect, and you better be ready for that interview, both you and your spouse. That's number one. Number two, in President Biden's era, if your case is denied, you don't have any criminal record or whatever, you're not an enforcement priority. Deportation for you is not a priority. They focus, first of all, on criminals or those that are a threat to national security, right? However, everyone is an enforcement priority, in the new administration, if it's the same as what they did the last time. What does that mean? You might not have had any single crime, any single issue, and if you get denied, you're being referred to deportation for a deportation proceeding. So this is not the time to, what I can tell you, this is not the time to fool around and think immigration is a form. I'm just going to fill out a form and I'm just going to submit it, because In the past, when I say the past, I'm talking of the present right now, you can submit something and you'll get the courtesy of a request for additional evidence. In President Trump's era, we didn't have the privilege for a request for additional evidence. If you do not submit something that is needed to make a determination on that case, immediate denial. I mean, sometimes you'll have a nice officer that might do an RFE, but they had the power to do an immediate denial. What is an example of that? An example of that is, let's say you submit a marriage-based case, you don't submit enough evidence to show that your spouse meets the income requirement, and you don't submit a joint sponsor in that initial application, a lot of people would get denied back then. Now you can get a request for additional evidence. So your application really needs to be airtight. Something that they have also said that they will bring back is the I-944. Any of you that were back that knew much about American immigration or marriage-based immigration back then, you know how traumatic that was. I-944 is basically the well test. That's what we called it back then. Basically, it is a test where you had to meet 7 standards, which is when you're filing a marriage-based case, it's not enough that you have a good faith marriage. They also wanted to see the credit report of the spouses and the person petitioning. So a lot of times, a lot of our clients, they don't have social security numbers. We literally would have to go on Experian or Equifax or TransUnion and literally get a screenshot of the error message or proof that they don't have a social security. So they cannot possibly have a credit to include in the application. Another thing that they required is certification and proof of English speaking. They required a high school diploma, right? And any kind of certificates or graduate degrees that you had in college or whatever. They also required that every applicant had health insurance that was not being covered by the United States. So these are some of, I think there are 2 that I'm forgetting right now. And then, of course, the income requirements, they wanted to see 12 months worth of your bank statements. Yeah, I forgot that. They wanted to see, so apart from the financial affidavit of support, they wanted to see 12 months worth of applicant and petitioners' bank statements. So these were some of the things that we expected, that we had to do, not expected, we had to do them, in the previous administration. And thankfully, that was something that a couple of months after President Biden entered, he changed it and just modified the public charge rule. So the public charge rule was something that made a lot of people who are qualified today not qualified. So, if you are someone who's eligible, for any kind of immigration benefit, I've seen some people ask me questions about, should I wait, until the new administration, or should I wait until after the new administration? You don't have the benefit of waiting. You don't. You need to apply right now. That's number 1. You don't have the benefit because you don't know if you'll be arrested. Arizona just passed a law right now, similar to the one in Texas, which is under litigation, basically saying that state and police officers could arrest and report to ICE anyone that they suspect to have entered without inspection. State, not ICE, the police can do that. And now a state court has the power to order someone to be deported. They don't even have to wait for an immigration judge, a state court. And that is what they're doing. They've passed in Arizona. Don't know what was going to happen with all the other states, and I'm sure it's going to go through a bunch of litigation. But these are things that we could potentially see a lot of back and forth. Another thing that we saw in that administration was the laws changed almost every Friday, literally almost every Friday. Like, we would have a pile of packets to go out, and on Friday we would wait till like 12 o'clock, for Stephen Miller to announce a new law, and we would have to start shredding papers and refiling. So it is a very stressful time for we as attorneys, just as it is for you guys as well, because a lot of things that we're, that was the law on Friday, they would change because a lot of for instance, the I-944, it went to court several times. So, they will put it in, the judge will cancel it and say, no, we're giving a restraining order. They will remove it, they will cancel it, and they went back and forth. So that is something that we're fully expecting to happen, because a lot of these things are not going to be things that, the other side agrees with. And so there's going to be a lot of back and forth. And so again, this is not time for you to mess around, try and do stuff yourself, or not hire someone that knows what it is that they're doing. This is not a time to go hire notarios or your friend's cousin or whatever it is. You need to hire someone. You don't have to hire me, but you need to hire someone who actually practices immigration law and knows what is happening, in this era. Because again, if you do get denied, the cost is just so much higher than before. Okay, let me take some questions from you guys. If you overstay your visa, can VAWA protect you from deportation? Is the question if you have an approved VAWA? If you have an approved VAWA, yes. If you have a pending VAWA, what could happen is that if you are already in deportation, a lot of times the judges will put your case on administrative hold so that they can make a decision on your VAWA case. And if you're approved, then you can try to get the case terminated. There is something right now that is called prosecutorial discretion, where sometimes we can reach out if we know that our client's case is going to get approved, or they have a really solid case. We can do what we call prosecutorial discretion and reach out to the immigration judge and say, this client has the prima facie determination letter. This is what it's looking like. Or they have an approved I-130, can you please terminate this proceeding? That is something that was allowed in this administration. It wasn't allowed in the previous administration. We don't know what's going to happen, in the new administration, if they'll continue that way and completely eliminate prosecutorial discretion. So we'll see. It's going to be a lot of hell and hectic for immigration judges, because it also means that they're also going to have more on the docket, which means that cases are going to take a longer time to be processed and reviewed. But we'll see what happens. Another question that I've gotten asked a lot is about DACA. DACA is technically obsolete right now. And what I mean by obsolete is that, if you had a previous DACA before the ruling was passed, I think you had to have had it before 2021, you can still continue to renew it. Even as of right now, the judge has done a stay, basically saying, no, like, you cannot apply for any new DACA. I don't expect that to change. So if you don't have DACA, I don't expect that to change where you'll become eligible, because again, they're trying to eliminate from the U.S. as many people who entered without inspection as possible. They are also trying to increase workplace rates. So you guys have to be very mindful, for those of you who work, and you work in places that are very immigrant heavy. So this is something that was done in the previous administration. So I expect that to continue to remain. Or to be brought back, where they do crack down, on workplace. So just be mindful of that. Let me see. Another thing, and this is the most problematic one. This wasn't done back then, and I really don't foresee this happening. This is something that was on Project 25. I really, really don't foresee it happening, because it would be really, really disappointing if any judge would allow this to happen. So let me repeat, this is not something that happened before. This is not something that we know to be law. So I don't want anybody going here panicking after I say this. One thing that their Project 2025 says is that basically they only want green cards in family-based categories to only be for nuclear families, meaning you can petition for your spouse or your children. No more siblings. And no more parents if you're over the age of 21. Again, this is from Project 2025. This is not law. I don't know if this is something that's going to happen. I don't know if truly President Trump endorses Project 2025. So that was something that I thought was problematic. Like, I've tried today to talk about the items in there that they did in the previous administration, because most likely those will be coming back, since they're basically electing the same people. So this one, I don't know what is going to happen with that, but I think that that is something that they're going to have a very hard time passing. But again, there were many things in the previous administration that we passed that were shocking to me, like the travel ban, and even including countries that it claimed to be Muslim, like Nigeria, which it truly is not a predominantly Muslim country, but Nigeria had the travel ban, so people weren't able to get green cards. Okay, let's see what other questions you guys have as I continue to remember some of the other stuff. If a spouse loses citizenship, can VAWA protect you from deportation if your spouse loses citizenship? I need a little bit more context than that, or schedule a consult, let's see. Someone says, how about his wife? That means her as well. Well, technically, no. So if you entered into the country legally, and what I mean legally, I mean that you entered with inspection, meaning you came with a visa and you came through the airport or, whatever. Basically, U.S. Customs and Border allowed you to enter with your visa legally, and you're married to a United States citizen or a green card holder, and they file for you. You are eligible. You're not considered in that regard, an undocumented immigrant or an illegal entry immigrant, which seems to be the core focus right now. So as long as, guys, you stay out of trouble, I can't emphasize that enough. As long as you stay out of trouble, you don't get into any criminal infractions. If you're a habitual speeder, you need to slow down. You don't give them any reason to stop your car. Especially in states like Florida or Texas or Arizona, where they will refer you to ICE, and you are married to a U.S. citizen or a green card holder, I wouldn't worry so much. I know it is fearful and a lot of stuff is unpredictable, but I wouldn't worry so much because, again, we have lived through this administration before. I have practiced immigration in that administration before. And as long as you fall in that category, you will be fine. The people that I know that went into deportation in that category who came in with a visa, those people, sorry guys, I'm still recovering. I have a cold. I don't know if you guys saw that I was sick. That's why I couldn't come on live earlier last week. So I'm still recovering. But as long as you don't have a criminal record, you don't commit any deportable offense, you'll be fine. So again, what am I saying? Stay out of trouble, okay? Okay. If you marry a spouse and Trump gets one, and can they get a green card? Star Sean, as long as you're a U.S. citizen, your spouse, you can apply for your spouse. This is not something that is a problem in any administration. Trump is not trying to take that away. So as long as your spouse is a U.S. citizen and you have a genuine marriage, you should be fine. And that person entered with inspection, because I have to mention that. You guys saw that I posted the updates where President Biden had instituted a law, in the summer of this year, where basically anyone who entered without inspection, again, entering without inspection means entering the country undocumented, without a visa. You crossed the border, you came in through a boat, you came in through a wall, or something like that. Anyone that was married to a U.S. citizen, he created a path to a green card and ultimately citizenship for those people if they had been here for more than 10 years. So that is what that is what the courts struck down. I mean, yes, it was a Trump-appointed judge, but this was struck down on the election was on Tuesday, so it was struck down on Thursday, which I think was strategic why they kept postponing it, because they wanted to see what would happen with the election. So that was struck down. So for people in those categories, the only way they would be able to get a green card would be if they get approved a waiver and go back home to their home country and do their interview there. The other option for them right now is if they're eligible for VAWA based on being with an abusive spouse. Your children are U.S. citizens who are abusive and over the age of 21, or one child. Those will allow you to stay here and adjust your status. Or if your spouse, again, is a U.S. citizen or a green card holder and is abusive. But otherwise, and then of course with a T or U, unless, they eliminate the T or U. But right now, those allow you to be here. And that is the current law now. So please, I do not want you to leave this live thinking, oh my gosh, They're going to remove T or U. I was just telling you the two things that concerned me on the Project 2021 were related to the nuclear family and the U or T, but this is not the law. So do not panic over something that is not the law yet. If you want to panic, panic should be that if I'm eligible for something right now, I should be applying right now. That's the only thing that you should be thinking about. If you are eligible for something right now, apply for what you're eligible for. Do not wait. Do not wait out the administration. Do not wait for the next administration, because you never know what could land you with a police officer or in an ICE raid or a reason for you to get deported. Okay. Okay. Let me see how many more questions I can take. It's my I adore you telling the truth and not monger any fears to people. Yeah, honestly, I don't believe in that. Listen, I don't like stress in my life. Personally, the job that I do is very stressful. I hear horrific and horrible cases of people dealing with abuse and trafficking and heinous crimes on a daily basis, that if I act as a medium of calmness to people, that is what I want to do. And that's why people come to lawyers, right? If you are not eligible for something, I will never lie to you and collect your money, and ask anyone who has come to us and I said we couldn't take their case, but I believe it is important to tell the truth. It is also important to say, yeah, you should probably be fearful, like some things can change, but I am not going to tell you something is law and it's not. I'm not, that's not what I'm going to do. I mean, some people may thrive on the sensationalism of it, but I'm not. So until it's law, I'm not going to tell you. What I will tell you, as I said, is what was in the past and what could potentially be, and you should be mindful and apply when you're eligible. Okay. Can you please repost your interview questions? What do you mean repost them? You mean like if you were scheduled for an interview? Or maybe, I don't think I can repost that. I never posted that before. I mean, that's a long process. What I'll do is, I think next week, I will do like a session on like good faith marriage, some of how to prepare like your application for like good faith marriage. I hope I remember that this is what I want to talk about. And just some of the things that you should consider having if you don't already have them. Okay. Can I travel with advanced parole freely? It depends. It will all depend on whether you're in deportation and what stage your case is in. At our firm, when people tell me that they want to travel, the first thing that I do is I first check their alien number. After I check their alien number, I ask them to be honest about any criminal records that they've not yet told us about. Because sometimes people tell you they don't have any criminal records, and then we run their FBI clearance, and it's like, well, can you explain this? And then after that, I make a determination based on where they are in their case. If this person has received an RFE, they've received a NOID, I do not allow them to travel until we know that that has been processed and a decision has been made. Because for me, the risk is too great for you to just go on leisure and not be able to come back than just waiting out a decision. So based on those things, hopefully that helps you make a decision. If I'm married in December, and sending my documents, will I get my green card still? Of course you'll get your green card if you're eligible. Guys, remember, like, they're not banning green cards, guys. Like, they're not banning you from getting a green card. If you're eligible for a green card, you can get a green card as long as you entered with inspection. You can adjust. If you didn't enter with inspection, you would have to consular process. This has always been the law. This is not a Trump rule. This is not a Biden rule. That has always been the law. It's just that President Biden created this to try to give them a path, but they basically said no, unconstitutional. This is not, because we really remember at the end of the day, a lot of things in immigration, it's not a right, it's a privilege, right? The idea of immigration into any country is to keep the country safe and to do what's in the best interest of the country, right? And also to still create diversity to a certain extent, which is why, we have people still coming in, or we have caps on diversity lotteries and stuff like that. But that being said, there is no attack on you being married to a U.S. citizen or you being married to a green card holder and being eligible. It's just that you have to make sure you're able to prove that your marriage is of good faith, right? And that you entered with inspection. If you didn't enter with inspection, you still have a path. It's just that your path will include you leaving the country and entering back as a green card holder. I know this, I'm out of time, and this is like a really long topic, and I feel like I'm probably going to be talking about this for the next couple of weeks. So I got to jump off. If my throat gets back better in the next couple, I may come on one of the evenings, when I'm done with my actual workload, to answer more questions. And, if I didn't get to your question, sorry about that. Schedule consult, if you want like specific legal advice. Our number here is 407-995-6567. You can also WhatsApp 404-333-8751. If you are watching this on the replay, the number is, on the ticker on Facebook, YouTube, and also you can just check our profile on Instagram. Okay, guys, stay ready, be relaxed, be calm. I promise that if something is law and the news, I will always announce it. But in the meantime, do not allow people to take your peace from you. Just keep living your life and staying out of trouble. Okay, guys? All right, guys. Bye.